Hi, this is Andy Bower at Object Arts with the second part of a tutorial on how to create a Lights Out game for Dolphin Smalltalk. The first thing to do, as with any project, is to create ourselves a new package. I open the package browser and right click on the packages pane and choose new package, and let's call this Lights Out game. Okay. As we've done before, I'm going to choose set this as the default package, which means that classes will go in there unless explicitly saved somewhere else. Now, if you remember in the example I showed you, we have a number of lights out cells which represent the different lights, and we're going to design the model view presenter triad for these first. As you saw, the model for the lights out cell is simply a Boolean value wrapped in a value holder, so we don't need to create a new class for that. We've already got the classes set up. But what we do need to do is to create a presenter. I'm going to call that lights out cell, and we need to create a view class too, because there's nothing in the image that currently will display things how we want them to be. So I'm going to open the class browser and I'm going to go to the presenter hierarchy. Okay, and we can descend our lights out cell directly from presenter. So I'll choose new and choose lights out cell as the class name. I'm not going to package it, so it goes automatically into our default package. Okay, and this is our presenter. Now the first thing to do here is to go and define the default model. So we do that on the class side, and let's create a new method there, and we'll call it default model, and we want it to be a true value converted or wrapped in a value holder. And I will compile that. And for the moment, that's all we need to do with this. We've got our basic presenter. Let's go and now design the view, which is going to be able to display that model appropriately. So I'll find the view hierarchy, and in here we're going to create a class called LightsOutCellView. Once again, we'll use the default package. Okay, and the first thing we might want to do with this is to work out how to display it on the screen. So we'll create a new method, and let's in order to do that, we're going to have to override the onPaintRequired method, and this takes a paint event as its parameter. And the first thing we want to do is to check to see whether the model is true or false. If it's false, we can just leave the background showing through. If it's true, we want to paint a coloured square. So I'm going to work out a rectangle, and I'm going to paint it onto a particular canvas. So let's work out what the rectangle should be that we're going to fill in with the colour. So we take our client rectangle, and we're going to just inset it by 5 pixels just to give it a little bit of a border. And we're going to get a canvas, which is the Dolphin drawing surface, from the paint event that we've been given. Okay, and let's now go and use one of the canvas methods. Now sometimes it's difficult to remember exactly what methods are available for a particular object, so we can open a new class browser and go and look for the canvas class. If we look inside the drawing category, and we should see, yes, this will be a good one, fill rectangle with a particular color. So we'll use that method. So we go back over here and we'll say canvas fill rectangle with a color, and the rectangle we want to fill is the cell rect, and I'm going to create a method to answer the color because that makes it more easier to configure it later. So let's call a method and we'll call it color when on. Okay, let me compile that. Okay, I missed out a bracket. Let's try again. Okay, and we're being warned that the message isn't actually available in the class yet, so let's go and create that now. And color when on, and we want to answer a particular color value. Now, one way to quickly get a color value is to use the built-in color dialog. So if I just inline here type color dialog show modal, and then to try and display the answer from that, we get the color dialog coming up. Let's choose a yellow, maybe dim it down a bit. Okay, and you see we've actually got the color value printed inside our method, so all we need to do is to delete that and accept that. The next thing we need to do, as we should do with all views and presenters, is to define the default model on the class side. So let's do that now. I'll write a default model method, and this can be exactly the same as the one we created for the presenter. So we're going to answer true as value here. Okay. Now the other thing is, on the class side, we've created a method to paint the view when it becomes exposed, but we haven't got any way of informing the view that needs to repaint itself when the model is changed. The best way to do this is when the model is connected to the view. If we listen to the value changed event, we can then ask the view to invalidate itself and paint itself. So let's create we're going to override the connect model method of view, and this will allow us to get in just as the model has been assigned to the view. So we can say self model and we're going to use when send to, and the event we're looking for is value changed on the model because the model is a value holder, and we're going to send invalidate to ourselves, and this should cause Windows to send a paint message around to refresh our display. Okay. Now one other thing we want to do is to intercept mouse events so that we can detect when the view has been clicked. So the best way to do that is to override on left button released, and we'll do it when the button's released rather than when it's pressed, because most buttons work like that. They trigger their command when they're released. So on left button released, what we're going to do is we're just going to trigger an action event off our presenter. And we'll call the action event cell action. Okay. So that's just about it for the view, I should say. The next step is to create an instance of this view in the View Composer, and then attach it to our presenter, our LightsOutCell class. So the way to do that is to right-click on the class, choose Views New. We can accept the default view name, and you'll see it's come up, and we're showing that we have got a a true value, so the light is turned on. Seems to be working okay. We don't need to do anything to that to configure it, so we can just save that down. Now we don't particularly want to save it down onto the view class, but what we do want to do is to save it down to the presenter class. So I'm going to choose Save As, and instead of choosing LightsOutCellView here, I'm going to go to the presenter hierarchy and choose LightsOutCell and save this view down as that default view. Okay. If we now go to that presenter class, LightsOutCell, we can see that on the class side we now have a resource default view method, and this is used to recreate that view that we've just created. Let's test it out. So let's open a workspace and let's say LightsOutCell is LightsOutCell show, and evaluate that, and you see we've got a rather large one of those wrapped inside a shell view. Now what we can do with that is we can test the model out, so we can say LightsOutCell model value false, and you see it turns off, and similarly true, and it turns it back on again. So that is enough for now. We've got our cell working. In the next part of this video we'll go on and design the Lights Out game presenter and its board model class.